So one of the most effective decks for the Xyz Cup, in my opinion, on a budget is definitely going to be the Lyrilisk OTK. This is a fairly strong strategy still for going second to break boards and OTK your opponent. You can build this deck with almost no investment, just a couple of super rares for the Wagtail, the Bird Call, and the Assemble Nightingale essentially. You could spend a little bit more, like I opted to spend 30 ultra rare points on one Starling in order to use the Bird Sanctuary. I'll show you a quick match against Exosister where we were able to easily win the game, not even using like our OTK strategy, but we'll show you kind of the different avenues that you can use with this deck. So the deck list is pretty straightforward. You got 3 Cobalt Sparrow, 3 Sapphire Swallow, 3 Turquoise Warbler, 2 Bird of Beginning, the S'more card, 2 Beryl Canary, 2 Wagtails, triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, triple Lava Golem. This card I think is really good, especially in the Xyz Cup, because people aren't really putting up like massive boards, right? It's not like Snake Eyes where they put up like a ton of different monsters. So being able to tribute over 2 of, you know, the more important Xyz monsters that they put on board, or if they're not playing an Xyz strategy like Labyrinth or something, being able to tribute over like Lovely, Lady, whatever is pretty good, especially if those monsters are unaffected or untargetable. Lava Golem deals with all of that. Of course, you have back row removal in terms of Feather Duster and Lightning Storm. If you can afford a second Lightning Storm, it would probably be good to put it in there. But another good going second card is Triple Tactics Talent. So I've just, because this account is an alt account and I don't really have a lot of resources, I just have one of each of these from the bundles. So 1 Lightning Storm and 1 Triple Tactics Talent. I didn't opt to craft any additionals. And Talents is a really good card going second, and this deck wants to go second. So these cards, you know, all of the Duster, Lightning Storm, and Talents, great going second cards that you should have, even though they're ultra rare. More or less staples, and 2 of these come in the bundles. Triple Bird Call, this is one of the supers that you will have to craft or open along with the Wagtail in order for you to build this deck. This is your searcher for the deck, and also a free special summon potentially, which can help you get your combos going. Psychic Blade at 3. This is probably the best equipped card you can use in this deck. Gives you 2000 attack on your Assembled Nightingale, so really all you have to do is make sure that you can attack directly without getting interrupted. And this card having the affected attachment material, making it indestructible and indestructible by battle and card effect, means that hopefully you can attack directly, your opponent won't be able to destroy it or negate or shut it down. And then this with a couple of materials, like let's say 3 materials or more, with a Psychic Blade, means that it can attack directly for like almost 3000 damage each time. That's going to be pretty much GG's. You're going to win the game. So if you do the math real quick, let's see, 3 materials is going to be 600 attack, and then let's say you get 2000 on Psychic Blade, and then you're going to be able to attack 3 times. That's 7800 damage. So you either need to deal 200 extra damage, or just have 4 materials on this card with a Psychic Blade getting 2000 attack to the Assembled Nightingale, and you will be able to attack for game. What also is interesting is if you have a Beryl Canary attached as a material for the Assembled Nightingale, this card gives an additional 200 attack. So if you made the Assembled Nightingale with a Beryl Canary, you only need 3 materials, because your attack on the Assembled Nightingale will actually be 800 despite only having 3 materials. And then with the Psychic Blade, you also have an additional 2000. That means you have 800 times 800 plus 2000 is 2800 times 3 attacks is 8400 damage, which is enough to OTK. 1 Bird Sanctuary, you would only play this if you have the Starling, because what you can do is you can make a Starling, detach a material, search for an extender like the Beryl Canary, make an Assembled Nightingale, and hopefully you're able to search out the Bird Sanctuary with the Wagtail, and then when you put the Bird Sanctuary on field, you can attach the Recital Starling with its other 1 material into the Assembled Nightingale, giving you an extra 2 attacks and an extra 400 points of damage onto your Assembled Nightingale, because this card will allow the Recital to go into the Assembled Nightingale. And then usually you'll have this card with more than 3 materials, which means you get a free draw off this effect here. If you control an Xyz monster with 3 or more materials, just draw a card. So you get a free draw, and you get an extra 2 attacks on Assembled, hopefully being able to OTK. And then Swallow's Nest is just a good way to dodge Imperms, Veilers, and just get the actual monster that you need on board. So say you open with like a card that doesn't really do anything for you, like you have to end up normal summoning a Swallow. You can normal summon this, use the Swallow's Nest to tribute it, special summon out, let's say a Cobalt Sparrow, which gets the effect on special summon to search for another Lyrilisk card. So maybe you can search for another Swallow, or Swallow, let's say, and then use the effect now that you have a Winged Beast on board to special summon this and another Winged Beast. So, you know, this card just helps you facilitate your combo and gets you a little bit more consistency. And then triple Imperms for the same reason as Ash and Maxi, as hand traps to go second with. You don't want to see these if you're going for the OTK necessarily, but it's good to slow down your opponent when needed. As for the extra deck, you'll never really make anything else in here more or less, but just they're in here to fill it out. Slacker Magician, Number 54 Lionheart, both at 2. I crafted the 1 Starling, but you don't need to play this if you don't want to go the Bird Sanctuary. Like, the Psychic Blade is enough, but this just helps increase consistency since you can make this and then search again for any Lyrilusc or any level 1 Winged Beast monster. So you have Swallow's Nest, which you have to draw, but you can always make the Recital Starling to search out exactly what you want. That's why this card is good to play, especially if you have 2. Triple Assembled Nightingale, just because the Galaxy Photon deck is and Kashtira are popular in this event, so you don't want these ripped out of your extra deck and having no way to OTK. So playing 3, in my opinion, is needed in order to play around these getting ripped out of your extra deck. 2 Fucho, again, you'll rarely ever make any of this other stuff. Like, you might end up making some of these other things if you're gonna go into like a Zeus to wipe the board. But I have the Ensemble Robin in this deck just because I pulled it in my 10 pack. Normally I would not play this and would never really summon it. And then 1 Promenade, again, a card that you'll probably never really make. Downerd and Zeus, I would say, are mandatory because this gets you the extra material for Zeus, and you'll be making Zeus a lot, especially going second if you don't have specific board breakers in order to wipe the field. And then 1 Typhon, just I haven't made this yet, but you know, just having the ability to make this and slow the game down if needed to stall is important. But again, may not be needed. I would say having 2 Zeus would be pretty important for the same reason having Triple Assembled Nightingale is important, is that you want to play around potential extra deck rips. So that's the deck. It's pretty effective. Let's go ahead and take a look at a quick match of how we bodied a very expensive deck in Exosister with something as humble and cheap as Lyrilusc. So in this matchup, we actually lost the coin toss. As you can see here, the opponent opted to go first, but that's fine because we want to go second. And we have the One of Talents, which once we see what the opponent's deck is, we know can potentially go really hard. Once I see that Exosister Returnia, I just know that the Talents is what's going to win me the game here. And this is why you might want to play more than 1, because it is a very good card to go second. The opponent has, you know, all of the gas needed to go full extension. So you saw them take a Maxi off the Pot of Prosperity, which indicates that they do have ways to go full combo. We have no hand traps, no Maxi, no Ash Blossom, no Imperm, no Lava Golem even to break the board, but against Exosister they usually just end on the Magnifica anyways, which is just 1 monster. So they start off by going for Makalis, searching out a Returnia, which is very important to pay attention because this card, in order to activate it, requires you to control an Exosister monster, at least 1. If they don't control an Exosister monster, they cannot use this Returnia to banish. So they're going to follow up with the Sakitama and Aritama, which again, very expensive cards, right? All these are like ultra rares, like the Makalis is ultra rare, the Martha is ultra rare, the Sakitama is ultra rare, the Magnifica is ultra rare. A lot of expensive cards in this deck, but it is a very good deck for this event, and it is an Xyz focused strategy. We know the opponent has Maxi and Martha in hand. We know they have Returnia set and a mystery card, so we pretty much know what we have to try to play through. What's interesting here is, you know, this hand doesn't really seem that great. We have no additional follow-up off Lyrilusc, Turquoise Warbler, because we'd want a second Winged Beast in order to special summon with it, but we know the opponent has Maxi, so what are we going to do here? The draw for turn is going to turn out to be pretty useless in an Imperm, but I have a strategy here. I'm going to try to bait out the Maxi and potentially the Returnia right away by special summoning the Warbler. Now it asks me right away that tells me that I have no card to summon, but the opponent still activates Maxi once they know, like, oh hey, he's on Lyrilusc OTK, he needs to special summon, let me go ahead and Maxi. We're not playing Called By or Crossout, so if we do get Maxied, you know, this is one of the downfalls of the deck, is like you have to either pass turn or try to play through the Maxi and hope you don't get Nibiru or something. The good thing is you can always just end on an Assembled Nightingale and use the ability during the opponent's turn to save yourself from getting OTK'd by your opponent as well, without special summoning too much. Like, this will give the opponent potentially a draw 2 off Maxi, so it's not necessarily the end of the world, but you know, it's hard to come back from that. So off the Maxi being activated here, we're going to chain the Swallow's Nest to tribute the Warbler to special summon from the deck before the Maxi resolves, preventing the draw 1. We search for the Wagtail in order to get a Bird Call to hand. This is follow-up for the next turn, because we plan to just go with the Talents to take, with the anticipation that we're likely going to have to make a Zeus, assuming the opponent doesn't out their own Magnifica. Now, they could have opted to use either ability on the Magnifica in order to sub it out for a Makalis, or just detach a material and banish. They opt not to do anything, and because they didn't, I'm like, alright, well, I know your Returnia is now dead, so let me go ahead and activate Psychic Blade, pump this up to 4,000 attack, and I can attack twice with this, and if the opponent doesn't have a way to stop me, I'm just going to attack for game. I'm assuming they had the other Exosister Trap Vadis set, which will allow them to special summon 2 from deck, which means I can just attack over both of their monsters that they summon, and then make Zeus in main phase 2 to wipe the board and then clear up the Martha extension that they would have on the next turn. I have Bird Call for when the turn passes back to me after my Zeus wipes the board here, but it turns out the opponent didn't have anything to slow me down, and the Talons with the Psychic Blade ends up taking the game. But you can kind of see the mindset and the approach to the game that we took here. We had a plan in mind. We ended up attacking for game, but we did have a proper follow-up if needed. And that's what's nice about this deck is, you know, you don't always have to OTK going second. You have ways to control the game to a certain degree, thanks to going into Zeus and whatnot. This is why you might want the second Zeus, but a pretty effective way to just quickly get through the match with Lyrilusc OTK. So in this second match, we won the coin toss and have opted to go second, so this should give the opponent some kind of indication that we're on an OTK strategy, and we'll see what the opponent is on and what kind of interruptions they can put up. Our opening hand is 4 engine cards and 4 Lyrilusc monsters and a Maxi. Upon the normal summon of Poplar, they search for the original Sinful, and we're going to Maxi on activation of that original Sinful to draw off the special summon. Unfortunately, the opponent has the Ash Blossom to negate the Maxi, so now they're going to be able to go through a full Snake Eye rotation here. But again, in an Xyz Cup, like, you have a full extra deck, sure, you might have some decent Xyz monsters in there, but we know Snake Eyes is primarily is basically a link-based strategy. So the only thing they could really go for here, I think, on turn 1 would be like an Assembled Nightingale to prevent themselves from getting OTK'd. They do have a couple of extensions, so clearly, you know, they play Snake Eyes in regular ranked mode and they're just using this in the event, but this is why I say you really do want to tailor a deck that is actually good for this event. Like this end board is not going to do anything for the opponent unless they have hand traps that they can stop me. I am going to be able to OTK. We know that they're going to likely search the trap card. This is one adaptation you might make with the Snake Eyes deck for the Xyz Cup, but this Sinful Spoils of Betrayal is just 1 negate, so I just have to play through 1 negate, which I can definitely do here, assuming they don't have like Nibiru, Maxi, or something in hand in order to kind of slow us down. We draw Bird Sanctuary for turn, that's fine. We're going to start with the Turquoise Warbler in order to summon out the Wagtail. The opponent opts to not negate either of these. If they negate the Warbler, I just normal summon like a Barrel Canary and go into Recital Starling, and then I just get full extension anyways. So they're saving their negate still. We search for a Bird Call off of the Wagtail, activate Bird Sanctuary just to see if the opponent wants to like Betrayal this or something. I just was like trying to bait them out, seeing if they're not reading the cards. This card is still very useful though, but they opt not to negate anything. They're instead going to activate the Flame Burge in order to special summon the Snake Eye Ash to search for Poplar. Then they can special summon Poplar and search for a spell or a trap. They end up searching for Field Spell, which indicates to me they might have Subversion in hand already to push my monster into the back row. So I go ahead and summon Starling, and this is one of the reasons why I say, you know, playing at least one of this is very important. The issue is if this gets negated right now, and I guess I would still be able to detach material, right? Because I can still activate the effect, which is detaching the material. It would just get negated. So I was fine either way, I think. But I just go ahead and boost up the Flame Burge and then detach the Wagtail. And then this is where the opponent opts to negate, sending the Diabellstar, which will get summoned back just to set another Sinful Spoil spell or trap. They send the Flame Burge after they realize I was likely going to try to crash into it. But if you negate this, my effects are negated, so I wouldn't crash into it anyway. So sending your Flame Burge there and losing the ability to special summon 2 level 1s is not great. And yeah, you opt to summon the Diabellstar, so you're not going to summon a Poplar and an Oak, because neither of them would have follow-up. You've already used Poplar effect this turn. Oak has nothing to summon back or bring back anyways. So they bring back Diabellstar instead, losing their Flame Burge for no reason. They should have sent the Poplar to summon it into the back row. Didn't matter in the end anyways. Regardless though, once we see that we've kind of played through the interruptions, assuming the opponent doesn't have Nibiru in hand, we're going to go ahead and Bird Call a Sapphire Swallow. Now, this was also a potential misplay, or, you know, you could have a better line potentially. I could have used Bird Call to send the Cobalt Sparrow into the graveyard, and then use Barrel Canary to special summon the Cobalt Sparrow, and then use Cobalt Sparrow to search the Sapphire Swallow. So I think that would have probably been the better play, because it would have got me the Cobalt in rotation, which makes my Xyz monster untargetable, and it just gets me the extra material, and I still get the Swallow to hand anyway. So the fact that I search for the Swallow directly is probably a misplay. Regardless though, we're going to be able to use the Barrel Canary effect to bring back the Wagtail, and then use the Sapphire Swallow effect to summon out the other Barrel Canary from hand. Both of these are being attached to the Assembled Nightingale is an extra 200 attack, so you're going to see it with 4 materials. My attack is 1200, so 800 from the 4 materials plus the extra 200 for the 2 Barrel Canaries for a total of 400 extra, so that's 1200, 800 plus 400, 1200 attack. I can attack 4 times right now, but this is the combo I was talking about in the deck list portion, where if you have the Recital Starling and you're able to facilitate the Bird Sanctuary combination, you can use Bird Sanctuary to get a free draw. As you see there, I draw into Maxi, not really useful right now, but then I use the second ability, or I guess you can call it the first ability, to attach the Recital Starling and its material into my Assembled Nightingale. Now I have 1600 attack at 6 attacks, which will equate to, I think, 9600 points of damage. Let's just run some quick math. Yeah, so 6 attacks at 1600 is 9600 damage. So now we just go battle phase, no Nibiru in sight, and we just attack multiple times. But the Cobalt Sparrow play, like I was mentioning off of the Bird Call, was technically the better play. Regardless though, we are able to still OTK going second, playing through 1 disruption with a hand of all engine after our Maxi got negated on turn 1 from the opponent.